All right, so I figured it out. We just weren't updating previous to current, and so like everything was the same depth, but we were starting with the arch. So if we went depth wise, the arch was the same depth as everything else, and so we got perfect spacing. But when it was like a row, everything was different widths, but the spacing was always by the width of the arch because we were starting with the arch, right? So the arch you can see. But this is really neat though because um, so here we have over here, so we have the spacing set to 1, and if you look, so this is depth wise, um, spacing is 1, our direction is Z, and then our anchor we placed at the top left front, and so you could see everything is aligned by the left and by the top. And if we change that, let's say we put y to 0, everything should be aligned by the bottom left. So build, bottom left or right, and then and if we change x to 1, it should go to the other side. So if we look at that, we got bottom left, and then the other side, right? So if we go build, everything went to the other side and it's aligned. And if we went in the x direction, let's set the spacing, because we had spacing to 1, let's say 0.1, that way we could, or 0.2, I think. Let's build again, build. So everything's aligned by the bottom, should be the bottom front. Yeah, they're all the same widths, so that's why they're. Let's test this. So let's go to like our cube prefab, and let's make it not exactly a cube. Let's change the dimensions so that, okay, we got object size there of 0, 0, 0. Oh, size 1, 1, 1, right? So let's say, let's put z to 0.75 or 0.5, and enter. So that should change the size of that prefab. And now if we update this, our cube should be a different size. Build. Boom. So it's aligned by the front, and then if we change, let's see, z to 1, it should move to the other side. So build back. Perfect. So we have everything there, and now we got to refactor into a static function. And I'll be right back. Please, I gotta. Okay, so we want to refactor this to static functions. I think we're going to do it in 2 steps. So all we really need to do is we have in the mono behavior, we have the convenience of a few persistent variables, right? So we have spacing, direction, and anchor. So we never have to pass those into our helper methods. So adjust anchor, get next distance. And so adjust anchor should take in the direction. So this would be vector 3 direction, and this should return the anchor. So it should return, in this case, return a new vector 3, turn new vector 3, and return new vector 3. And then from there, when we say adjust anchor, we say this dot anchor equals adjust anchor, and we pass in this dot anchor. This dot anchor. That should work there. So it's not static yet, but at least we have no dependencies on persistent variables. And then get next distance. So we're passing in the current transform. Let's see, we got move amount, get world bounds of current, move amount, spacing. So all we need to pass in really is extra is the float spacing. And so when we get next distance, previous, and then we add this dot spacing. That should work. It might argue with us about spacing because it's the same name, but I think since up here we're specifying this dot spacing, it should be okay. Let's make sure that works real quick. So refresh. And let's make sure that still works. So build. Oh, row adjust anchor returns void. A return keyword must not be followed by an object expression. So that's at row line 59. So line 59, return new vector 3 anchor.x and break. So let's see if we can do no break statements. I think that's what it is. Oh, hey, we still need to pass in the anchor as well, which is fine. Let's see if it was squawking just about the break statement since we're doing returns on there. Let's look. Row.adjust anchor returns void. Oh, that's what it was. Vector 3. It returns a vector 3. Just anchor. And then while we're at it, we also need to pass in not just the direction, but also the anchor. And direction is not a vector 3. Oh, so it's vector 3 anchor. Vector 3 anchor, and then direction is a Cartesian axis. Actually, it's that's an enum, that enum we defined. So Cartesian axis direction. Okay. Go back to here. Refresh. And line 50, we have not all code paths return a value on adjust anchor. So adjust anchor, and then in the case of default, case. Now we covered all cases there. So I think what it wants us to do is say var results equals new vector. We'll just say vector 3.0, 0, and then we're going to return result, return the results, and then from there we want result equals results equals, and then a break statement, break result equals break, and result equals break. And let's go to here, refresh. No given argument. Oh, so we 16. Line 16. 16. Adjust anchor. And then this would be, so we got this dot anchor, and it'll be this dot direction. That should be correct. Looks like we got it. And then, so if that works, after this, we just change those to static functions, and we put that in a helper class. That way, we don't have to instantiate a component and add it to a game object every time we want to create a row or something. So, eventually things will be, we're not going to be just using individual builders. We'll have like a sequence of things in one component, or maybe not even a component, So let's make sure it still works. Go to build. That's correct. Let's just go in the Z direction. So we go build. And that's correct. Good. Now we'll go back to here, and we're going to take this. Oh, so in the build itself, we also need to take all of this and put it in a row function. So I say private void row. Let's think this through. What do we need to return here? All we really need is the children. Right. So we need to pass in, so we need to get all children as a list, pass that in to row, and operate on those. So it's going to be passed by reference. So row, and then of course all these values. So a float, Cartesian axis, and a vector 3. So it's going to take Cartesian axis direction. Wait. Where are we at? vector 3 anchor and float spacing, as well as, do we want a list of game objects, or do we want to pass in just the transform? I think we should do a list of game objects. List of game object. We'll just call this objects. Items. How about items? And this should not be called like a function. So there we go. Got that. And we want to take all of this and put it in a row. And from there, rather than get child 0, what we want is items. Items dot so we don't want get child I. Items. I think I can reference a list like that. So like bounds, previous, cursor, space dot world, anchor. Good. And then this would be items dot count. Items dot count, and count is a method. Current equals transform dot get child at I. So this would be items at I. We may have to index it with a method since it's a list and not an array. Interpolate bounds. We got current, anchor X, Y, and Z. Position out var anchor on current. Move amount, previous, this dot spacing. We don't want this dot spacing, we just want the spacing that we passed in instead of the persistent spacing. And then cursor plus equals move amount, transform utils dot move with anchor. So we got current, anchor on current, cursor out, previous equals current. I think we removed all persistence there. So now, in our build method, builder base. So we got a row method. Oh, build. So we should be able to call should just be able to call row. And then we got transform dot children, include children, we're also going to need a get all children method just to get the children from the transform. Is that what we need? Yeah, I think so. So public list of game objects, get children, get all children, and that's going to become a static function too. Transform. So var list game object result equals new list of game object and for each game object is not able to infer that child, and transform and we say result dot add child, and then we're gonna return the results. Okay, we go to here. This is make sure the function itself compiled. So we got a parentheses expected at line 20. So var list result equals new list game object. How is that expected at 20? So build there. Got open and close, open and close, open and close. For each, open and close, and close. That's odd. Oh. Row, and then it's so we want a row get all children. Actually, let's do it piecewise. So we got items equals get all children transform, and we'll call it this dot transform. And a row function has so first we pass in items, and direction is this dot direction. Anchor is this dot anchor. Spacing is this dot spacing. Refresh. Save it. We should really probably call it a range row. So I'm going to call it a range in row. Do a refresh. This is good practice. Probably for that, I should have just took the code I had, passed it into ChatGPT, and said, can you make this into a static function? But this is just really good practice. So line 21 has a, wait, is it still compiling? Line 21 expects closing parentheses. So is it something before that? Because we have the closing parentheses. New list of game object. Get all children. We close there. Let's refresh it again, because I don't see what they're talking about. What you talking about? Why is there parentheses expected there? At 21, and then You also have an identifier expected and a closing parentheses expected, all at line 21. 21. Oh. There we go. Fresh. Type or namespace list cannot be found. Using system.collection.generic. The name items does not exist in the current context. At 17, var items. Refresh. Non-invocable member list GameObject.count cannot be used like a method. So count is not a method. Where are we at here? Get all children. Where's count? Find count. Just go like that. And argument 1, cannot convert from UnityEngine.GameObject to UnityEngine.transform. At 50, get next distance, previous and spacing, dot transform. Is that the error? Transform. Okay. Refresh. Cannot convert. Oh, looks like we got that. Make sure that works, and then from there we can just create a new file and just add static to those methods. Use them as static method. Okay, let's see if it works. Build. Nope, that does not work unless we change the direction here. We didn't get any errors. Let's see. Did not work. Let's go to here. So we got arrange in row, items, previous equals item 0, interpolate bounds previous, we got interpolate bounds, current equals items at 1, so items.count, anchor on current, output board space, move amount, get next distance, previous dot transform, and spacing. So, and get next distance, we know that get next distance worked. We know that move with anchor worked. What do we not know here? Arrange in row takes a direction, anchor and spacing. Direction, so we adjust the anchor. This dot anchor equals adjust anchor. Previous equals items at 0. Passing the items. Arrange in row. Items. There we go. We got get all children. This dot transform. This dot direction, this dot anchor, and spacing is this dot spacing. Interesting. Dang, I should have pushed the changes that we had before. That way we could just change it back. Say, yeah, they go to ChatGPT and say, just make this static, because this is just tedious details. How can we half split this? We might not be getting anything in the list. So one thing that we could do is when we do get all children, let's log num of children is result.count. We'll go to here and make sure it's in debug. We'll refresh. Row.cs error semicolon expected. Oh, yeah. And then at 22, right kilos, semicolon. Cannot use local variable result before it is declared. Return result. Oh, got duplicate code here. Back in the old days, this is how we used to do it. Cannot use local variable result before it is declared. It's still compiling. And that was just to get a printout. Let's see what we get. Build. And where is my... I didn't even get an output of that one. We are in debug. That's doesn't matter. Okay. Serialized object not creatable. Exception. Object index 0. Get all children. Specified cast is not valid at row CS 23. 23. Game object child in transform. So we want transform child in transform child dot game object. There we go. Refresh. Let's try it again. I think that was probably the whole thing anyway. I didn't notice that we had an actual error message. And there we go. Build. Aha! Now it is working. And let's just go, let's anchor at 1, so it should move to the top. And build. Yep. Okay, so we got that. And the next step of the refactor is simply to, how do we want to do this? I think see in our utilities, editor, layout, scripts, those are just the mono behaviors. We're just going to call it row util because these files are too big. So row util.cs, and then so it'd be using Unity Engine, using system.collections.generic, and I'm actually just going to take row.cs, build base, Cartesian axis. So yeah, we want this. Actually, we'll just copy this and then we'll remove the stuff that we don't need. We still got row.cs? Oh, there we go. Rowutil.cs. So we'll go boom. And so that's correct. And then public static class row extends nothing. And we remove these. Items equals get up. Yeah. Okay. Remove this. Public static list get all children, and that goes in game object utils. Oh, that's where I'm going to put it. So game object utils. And this public static void range in row, AAA void, get all children. Okay, so we can delete that, right? Cut. Range in row, just anchor. And then private, yep, static, private, static. And now if we go back to my game object utils, no, bounds, oh, row.cs. So now we should be able to, we should be able to move that, but I'm going to copy it and put it in like row backup for a second. Well, we can't put it in row backup. Let's just put it in Notepad. So what we need to do here is get rid of all of this. Build items get all children, and then it would be row util dot arrange in row. I think that would be it. Go to row util. Oh, and then name this. Actually, the class is row util. Util. Oh wait, go back to here. Refresh. And let's make sure this still works. Build. Namespace DLN already contains a definition for Cartesian axis. Okay, that's not too bad. Row util row. We don't even need that. And we're gonna go to here and go refresh. Refresh. Alright, we got a bunch of errors just for doing that refactor. Get all children does not exist in the current context. For row at 13. Row at 13, that's because we need to specify game object utils.getAllChildren. What was the other message? Row util.arrange in row is inaccessible due to its protection level. So that's number row.cs14. So in our row util, range in row needs to be public. Public. Refresh. Name log does not exist in the current context. Nope, it shouldn't exist in the current context. So we got row util log. Oh, I had put that in game object utils. Get all children there. So that only goes from we really should have that as a static method, but let's just leave that alone for now. Oh, this keyword this is not valid in a static property. So 15, wait, row util. Row util, line 15. Range in row. So we don't want this direction. We want direction, anchor. Let's try to find this. Okay. I want anchor equals find this. The results. Refresh. The name direction does not exist in the current context for row util at 67. So we go to 67, switch on direction. So get next distance current, and we have Cartesian axis direction. No argument given that corresponds to the required formal parameter spacing at row util at next distance, because we just changed that. So that should be in row. Anchor spacing and what do we call it? Wait. So we passed in anchor. What line was that at? What line? Row util at 36. Row util at 36. And this is why. Get next distance. Okay, let's find that. So current direction spacing. Go back. So current direction is, it should be direction. I think we call it direction. And spacing is spacing. So there's no, well, looks like it's compiling. Go. Now let's test it. Build. Looks like it worked. Let's just make sure. Oh wait, we can just change the direction to make sure. So, let's set x at 0. Go here, and build. Anchor x at 1. I don't think it moved. I didn't see it move. Build. Oh yeah, it moved. Okay, so we got x at 1, x at 0. Build. If I change the direction to say z, where was it? X. Let's go to x direction. I go build. Build. Good. So we have that as a static function now. That was a lot of work, but that's such a useful utility now. We can arrange in a row with alignment for anything. Good. Very good. Very good. And then we did it without having to define like a persistent anchor or anything that needs to be persistent. Except for in the component, but that's just for testing or for convenience. Alright, I'm done. So we're going to stop streaming.